Welcome back, fellow druids. This is Full Circle. We're going to talk today yet another model unit review, and this time I'm going to talk about Wolf Lord Morraig. He sort of let me pull up his stats real quick, and then we can begin the discussion. Alright, Wolf Lord Morraig is a Circle Wolfsworn Dragoon solo, so this is our only Dragoon actually. While he's mounted, he is Speed 9, Strength 7, Mat 8, Rat, doesn't matter, Defense 14, Armor 17. He is Cavalry, Pathfinder, and on a large base, he's Command 9. His melee weapon is a Cleft Blade. It is range 1 inch. It is Power and Strength 13. And his mount is a POW 12 at a half-inch melee. He has 10 damage while he's mounted. He has point cost 8. He's character, of course. He has, while he's mounted, he has Cleave, which is when he destroys one or more enemy models with a basic attack during his combat action. Immediately after the attack resolve, he can make an additional melee attack. You can only make one additional attack from Cleave each activation. He has Flank Wolfsworn, which, so a model, this model makes melee attack against an enemy model in the melee range of another friendly Wolfsworn model. This model gains +2 to attack rolls and an additional die for damage. He has Prowl, so if he has Concealment, he has Stealth. Reposition 5, if he didn't run or fail a charge, he can advance up to 5 inches, and then his activation ends at the end of his activation. And he has Veteran Leader Wolfsworn, which gives him +1 to command rolls when other friendly Wolfsworn models are in his command range. And then when he's unmounted, he... So to talk about, we haven't talked about Dragoons before, but what the Dragoon rule means is he has 10 damage boxes. If he is dealt 10 damage, you remove the mounted model from play and you replace it with the small base unmounted Morraig, and then he has a new damage line. You cannot, if you could do 1,000 damage to him while he's mounted, he will still take 10 is all, and it will not wrap over. He will be unmounted and he'll have 5 boxes. So that's just how the Dragoon rules work. He does have some stats that change slightly though. Specifically in his case, he will lose the mount attack, which makes sense. His speed will go down to 6 instead of being 9. His armor will go down to 15 instead of being 17. He will no longer have the cavalry rules, which again, of course, makes sense. And then he also loses reposition. And I believe that is it, but let me make sure. Yeah, just reposition. The rest of the rules will still apply. His command's the same. Everything else is the same. Okay, so Wolf Lord Morraig. He's 8 points. I feel like I didn't say that. He's 8 points. So he's definitely a model. So the only theme force he's allowed in is the Wild Hunt. And with his Veteran Leader benefit, you're immediately thinking he is going to be a model that is going, and his flank rule, that he's immediately going to be a model that is looking to play in a list with other Wolfsworn, and he absolutely is. At 8 points, he's a little bit too much to just like take and play on his own. If you're not getting advantage out of flank, I don't think he's really the right model to be considering. That said, Veteran Leader on its own means there are a lot of things that can get up to pretty accurate hitting. Wolves Vorberos get up to Mat 9 on the charge. Skinwalkers get up to Mat 9 with Gang. He himself is Cavalry and very accurate at Mat 8 already, and he gets an additional die in the attack roll. Death Wolves, who are also Wolves Vorberos, which I frequently end up forgetting because I've played them in Devour so much, are Mat 7. They go up to Mat 8. Also fantastic. Grail is a Wolfsworn. He goes up to Mat 8, and that's not counting if he casts Storm Rager on himself. Pardon me. Speaking of Storm Rager, Morraig is a great target for that spell. If he's mounted, that's going to take him up to Mat 10, Armor 19, while being Defense 14. Let's see, it's +2 Strength, Mat, and Armor. And Power and Strength 15, possibly with Flank. So now he can be Mat 12 if he's flanking. He can be a Mat 12, Power and Strength 15, 4 dice damage, Flanker, and then you can also potentially use that to get Cleave if you can, depending on how you can work it. One of the tricks with him, speaking of Cleave, that you're going to want to try to do is because he has a mount attack, you want to be able to, if you can use that, with a basic melee attack. I believe impact attacks are still... I will have to look this up, but I believe if he makes his mount attack, you can potentially get 3 attacks. Actually, it doesn't matter how he does that. So if he just advances, he can... If you can get 3 enemies within 1 inch, he can mount attack and then cleft blade, and then if he kills with at least one of those attacks, he'll get another cleft blade. So that's pretty good. Sometimes you want to try to abuse that so that you can get the 2 high power, like 4 dice or 3 or 4 dice damage rolls on a single model. He is speed 9, so you can get a lot of places. He is prowl, so that is pretty fantastic on a model that's already, for circle at least, fairly tanky. Being able to get stealth is going to be really advantageous for you. I do think he's probably at his absolute best with Grail for the reasons I just mentioned. Storm Rager, the veteran leader affects Grail. The tactician is fantastic for him since he can charge through and then reposition back, and then your skinwalkers, your wolves, or whatever can go forward. Pretty fantastic place for him. But I do think anywhere else that you're bringing Wolfsworn, it's certainly worth considering him. I think, like with Tanith, he would be a great target to put Scything Touch on because he can take advantage of it for himself and then also reposition while making the other Wolfsworn that are going to charge in more accurate on that attack. I think that's probably a pretty clever way to use him. He also hits really hard, so something else applied Scything Touch, he could certainly be the thing that kind of like charges in to help finish the job and then backing off that 5 inches. He can be surprisingly, he's a great model for holding, not early, you don't want to do this early on, but as the game progresses, he's a great model to sit on a flag or in a zone because of how the Dragoon rule works. You need a minimum of 2 attacks to kill him, an absolute minimum. And he's a 14-17 or 14-15 before any additional buffs. So it's not going to be just trivial to do that. You're going to do 10 damage to him the first time and 5 the second time. So he's certainly not like trivially dying. He could have had stealth that whole time too. Like the dude is great for doing things like that. 8 points is obviously a bit of a premium. I think he's kind of on the upper costs tier of Dragoons. Not the top, there's a few 9s, but he's sort of in that upper level. But he may be closer in power level to some of the 7s. So he's maybe just, I think he could be 7 points basically, and he would be okay. I think you could also take him for free in the Wild Hunt, and I think that would also be okay. There's several other examples of themes that are able to do that, and it's not been a big deal. We'll see if at some point there's a change. But Wolf Lord Morraig is going to be a great piece for you. I do like him with Tanith. Like I said, Grail I think he's fantastic with. Any of the other Wolfsworn situations I think would be good as long as they support him. So like Morvana Tude, in my opinion, is probably not his best place because she can't feed him back or anything like that. And she has ways to increase hitting. She's got the rerolls and stuff. So like 8 points would probably be better spent with her with like another unit of infantry. But any of these places where like you're thinking like maybe I'll bring the Death Wolves. The one reason that, sorry to backtrack, I take that back about Morvana too. The one reason he might be really good with her is she has Fog of War, which means he has Prowl or he has Stealth like forever. And then him and the Death Wolves can go in that list and just have Stealth and be sort of a pretty accurate self-contained package. So that might be something worth testing. But in other ways, he's a lot of points sunk into one model. So you have to certainly weigh the pros and cons of that, right? Like so if that's a minimum unit of Wolves or Ouroboros and a point left over, for example. Just worth noting, Warwolves are not Wolfsworn models, so he won't flank with them. He will, of course, trigger Sikkim, and because he is a Wolfsworn, he will trigger Sikkim, and of course Gangfighter, which doesn't, it just specifies faction model. So that's just keep that in mind with your interactions, and I may need to go back and have another episode on Warwolves at some point. I need to play them a little bit more again before I do that, but they're one, and that might be. I'd like to have an episode where you can see kind of my table back there. I need to work out how I'm going to do the video and stuff, but it'd be great to be able to do some more tactics videos. Do plan on getting some of those recorded at some point. So anyways, that's Wolf Lord Morraig. I think that's when you want to look to play him. If I do play him some more, we may have like some advanced tactics on him as well. But I sort of went over the basics of the things you're going to want to try to look to do with him. So again, thanks for watching.